It all started with whispers in the dark. Annaliese Michel was just 16 when the first signs appeared: paralysis, strange voices, and night terrors. Doctors called it epilepsy. But was it, or was something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface? At night, her family would hear unearthly growls from her room. Objects moved on their own, and worst of all, Annaliese would wake up screaming, her body contorted in unnatural ways. The doctors had no answers, but the church knew what this was: a demonic presence. And so began the most terrifying exorcism in modern history. At first, Annaliese's symptoms were dismissed, but soon she spoke in voices not her own. She would hiss and snarl at religious objects, unable to bear their presence. She claimed to be possessed by not one, but multiple entities, some of them ancient and evil. Nero.Cain.Judas. Lucifer himself. Her parents, desperate and terrified, turned to the church. Two priests, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, were called upon. What they witnessed was beyond anything they had ever imagined. The first exorcism session began in September 1975. The moment the prayers started, Annaliese screamed like an animal trapped in a cage. She thrashed violently, her limbs twisting unnaturally, unfazed by pain. The priests read the rite of exorcism, their voices trembling. Annaliese laughed, a deep guttural sound no human should be able to produce. And then she spoke. "I am the ruler of this world. You cannot defeat me." It was not her voice. It was something else, something ancient. Over the following months, Annaliese's behavior became more horrifying. She refused food and water, gnawed at walls, and ripped apart her own clothing. Her family found her curled up like a beast, whispering in unknown languages. She would shout obscenities at the priests, calling them fools and servants of the false god. She claimed to be damned, that the devil had claimed her soul. The priest did not stop. The exorcisms continued, sometimes up to 4 sessions a week. During one session, the priests did something that would shock the world. They recorded Annaliese. The tapes reveal something deeply disturbing. Multiple voices speaking simultaneously from her mouth, arguing, screaming, growling in demonic tongues. The voices were unnatural, layered on top of each other, and filled with pure hatred. Even skeptics who heard the tapes admitted this was no ordinary illness. By June 1976, Annaliese was a shadow of her former self, malnourished, weak, and barely able to move. Yet she still spoke in dark, inhuman voices. Her last words were whispered during her final exorcism session. "Mother, I'm afraid." That night, she took her final breath. She was only 23 years old. Annaliese Michel's death shocked the world. Her parents and the 2 priests were put on trial for negligent homicide. The court found them guilty, but many still believed she was truly possessed. Medical experts argued it was epilepsy and schizophrenia, but the details never quite added up. Why did she speak in voices not her own? How did she predict her own death? The church stood by their belief. This was a genuine case of possession. The Vatican has never officially confirmed it, but to this day, her story remains one of the most terrifying exorcisms ever recorded. Even today, people visit Annaliese's grave, believing she was a martyr in a spiritual war. But others warn that speaking her name invites the darkness. Was she possessed? Or was she a tragic victim of fear and faith colliding? The truth remains buried with her. But one thing is certain, her story is not easily forgotten. Some say, late at night, if you listen closely, you can still hear her whispers. If you're drawn to the darkest true horror stories, Subscribe to Secrets of the Undead and uncover the truth that lurks in the shadows. But beware, some stories stay with you forever.